It began as an ordinary Thursday morning on Good Morning America. Bright lights, polished smiles, and the familiar hum of cameras rolling. But within minutes, what was meant to be a routine political segment turned into one of the most talked about live television moments of the year. Viewers across the country watched in disbelief as Louisiana Senator John Kennedy and anchor George Stephanopoulos clashed in a fiery, emotionally charged exchange that ended with Kennedy being abruptly escorted off set. The tension began quietly, almost imperceptibly, like a storm gathering behind polite smiles. Stephanopoulos, known for his calm yet pointed interviewing style, had invited Senator Kennedy to discuss recent congressional debates on economic reform and the growing divide within the Senate. What followed, however, wasn't a discussion, it was a collision of conviction and control. At first, Kennedy seemed relaxed, leaning back in his chair, tossing in his signature mix of humor and folksy Southern charm. But as the questions grew sharper, focusing on political accountability and ethics in Washington, his tone shifted. "George, you don't live in the same world as ordinary Americans," Kennedy snapped at one point, his voice rising above the studio hum. The room felt tense, producers exchanging glances behind the cameras. Stephanopoulos, maintaining his composure, responded coolly, "Senator, I'm here to ask questions on behalf of those very Americans." That's when things spiraled. In what felt like seconds, the energy turned electric. Kennedy, visibly frustrated, accused the network of bias, calling the show a megaphone for one side of the aisle. Stephanopoulos pushed back, insisting the platform was neutral ground. "We give everyone a voice," he said, "but shouting over the truth doesn't make it yours." The exchange grew louder, the words sharper. Viewers at home flooded social media, some rallying behind Kennedy's outburst as raw truth, others calling it unacceptable behavior from an elected official. Then came the breaking point. Kennedy stood up, removing his mic mid-sentence. "I'm not here to play games, George. The American people deserve better than this circus," he declared. Stephanopoulos tried to de-escalate, signaling to cut to a commercial, but the confrontation had already crossed the line. Moments later, a producer gently stepped into frame, and Kennedy was escorted off set, a rare and shocking sight on morning television. Backstage, witnesses saw Kennedy was visibly shaken but calm. "I said what I needed to say," he reportedly told an aide before leaving the studio. Meanwhile, Stephanopoulos returned on air minutes later, visibly composed but emotionally subdued. "This morning was difficult," he told viewers, "but meaningful conversations are not always comfortable ones." His voice wavered just slightly, enough to show that the moment had landed deeply, even for him. In the hours that followed, the nation was divided. Cable pundits replayed the clip from every angle, headlines screamed across social media, and political analysts weighed in with practiced caution. But amid the noise, one truth stood out. This wasn't just about two men arguing on live television. It was about the deep frustration, fatigue, and passion boiling beneath America's political surface. It was about two people, each believing they were fighting for the truth, colliding in a space meant to unite rather than divide. By evening, Kennedy released a statement doubling down on his remarks but acknowledging that the tone could have been better. Stephanopoulos, for his part, took a reflective tone in a later segment, saying, "At the end of the day, what matters most is not who wins an argument, but whether we can still listen to one another." That closing line became the quiet heart of the story, a reminder that in a world of breaking news and broken trust, the courage to listen may be the rarest form of strength. As the dust settled, viewers were left not just with a viral moment, but with a question that lingers long after the cameras stop rolling: when conviction meets compassion, which one do we choose? Because sometimes, the most powerful stories on television aren't scripted, they're the ones that remind us what it means to be human, live, and unfiltered, in front of the world.